Hello, in this video I will show you a way how I use sampler or multi-samples, sample sounds in Ketron keyboards. In Ketron SD90 series of the keyboards, I have SD series of the keyboards, I have SD90 in front of me. So, when I'm using samples for Ketron, first, when you want to use them, you have to know that you can use 30 multi-samples, and each multi-sample can have around 30 samples. So, but you are limited with memory, with number of the samples, with number of multi-samples, and memory. All those limitations, a lot of limitations in Ketron world. So at least we have sampler, but Ketron should think that those limitations are compared to competition is not so good idea, is not so popular, is not something that is going to help them to sell their instruments. So let us go to see how it works actually here. If we go to menu, sample edit, now I will press the load instrument. Now you can see instruments that I have presently in my Ketron. I have, let us say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 24, 25. So presently I have 25 multi-samples inside of my Ketron. First, if you want to put samples in Ketron, they have to be 44,100 kilohertz, and they have to be 16-bit. I tried to load sound font samples, but sometimes if I load them, Ketron says they're compatible, but in very often if I load that kind of samples, I have problem with looping. When I press key, I can hear that click on the end or somewhere in sample, but usually on the end. When I play any sound, then I can hear that click, that looping is not correct. Although those multi-samples, they work very well in my Korg or Yamaha, or they work very well in native instruments. So I don't have problem with looping of those samples. But if I use them as a sound font and I import them in Ketron, problem is happening very often. Why? I don't know. Sometimes not, but very often yes. That's why what I do, I always import sample by sample inside of Ketron. Then I make my own multi-samples by mapping them. So how many of samples? First, we know that we can have 30 multi-samples. It is not big number. It is just, I have already 25. So now I have to think which sample I need to keep it and which sample I can erase to make more space. I can go for 5 multi-samples more if I don't have a huge number of the samples inside of multi-sample. So that's why I figure out that number of the multi-samples, number of the samples inside of multi-samples that I'm using is always around 16. And how I calculate? Always when I sample instrument, I start from note E. So let's say E2. Then I have octave 1, E, then I am skipping 2 seminodes, then I go to G, then I am skipping. So let us from the beginning. If I am starting from E, I can later use that E and put it down to note C. So I will just sample note E. Then I will skip F and F sharp, and I will sample G, skip A flat and A, then I will sample B flat, and then skip B and C, then I will sample C sharp. So in one octave I have 4 samples E, G, B flat, C sharp. That is 4. Then next octave again 4. That is 8. Then next again 4, 12, and then next again 4. So it is going to be 16 samples that I'm using. Always on note E, G, B, C, B flat, C sharp, E, G, B flat, C sharp, E, G, B flat, C sharp, E, G, B flat. Sometimes last C sharp I can avoid, so it could be 15 samples inside of multisample. If I have 15 samples inside of multisample or of each multisample, I can have space for 30 multisamples. If I have more samples, then I will get out of the space. So sometimes when I come to the multisample number 29 and I load it, I can hear half of the sounds and half of the sounds doesn't work. It shows that it's loaded, but actually it is not. Just a couple of sounds, when I had enough memory, they are loaded. The rest of the sounds is showing they are loaded, but actually they are not loaded. Ketron is ignoring them because Ketron doesn't have any more space inside of the Ketron. So that's why it is good idea to use 44,100 kilohertz, 16 bit, 15 to 16 samples to make multi-sample inside of Ketron. Okay, let me go to choose one of instruments that I have already here, and I will show you how it looks in reality. So I will go say load instrument, and I will use one of those guitars recently that I was working on. Let me choose this guitar. Okay. Okay. Okay, doesn't matter. I am not going to play that guitar. Okay, let me use this guitar. Press there, we'll load it and see what I have here. Usually in guitar I start from note E because lower note in guitar is note E. So you should start sampling with note E. So I did start with note E. That is note E of that guitar. If I click it, root key is E, E2. But I have that guitar from C2 to F2. Then I have next guitar on the same order. I'm skipping always 2 semitones and going to the next. If I start from E, I told you next note is going to be G, then B flat, C sharp, E, G, B flat, C sharp. And then I will put them here in proper order. So that is how I'm working with samples. So you can see I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus 7, 14, 15, 16. 16 multisamples. I have here 16 multisamples for this instrument. So, and then if I go, I'll discard this, and I have 25 instruments. I can have 5 more. So that is how I think and how I work with Ketron keyboard. Because of those limitations, hopefully there will be no limitation in next generation of the keyboards. Now, you know that in Ketron world we cannot have multi-samples, multi-layers actually multi-layers. We cannot have multi-layers. So let us see if you want to layer sound, how you can do that. I'll exit from here. I will go to one guitar sound. There's this guitar sound. Acoustic guitar. It's in 2 layers. What we can do with instruments in Ketron to get some layering? We can layer them in 3 layers. Because every voice has 4 sounds. Upper 1, 2, 3. And it has second voice. So We can use those sounds, upper 1, 2, 3, and we can layer them. For example, this guitar is in 2-layer. It has a layer from velocity. Let me go to page 2, from 1 to 95, and next layer is from 96 to 127. If we have more layer, if we want to have 3 layers, we can put 3rd layer, and we can just put those numbers whenever the layers are. So in this case, we can have actually layered 3 multisamples inside of one voice, and we can get feeling that we have a multi-layered voice. But we are limited with 3 layers. But if we use 3 layers, we have problem. What is problem? A problem is because those 3 multisamples, they are going to use 3 positions in number of multisamples that we have, and we have just 30 multisamples. So if we want to have multi-layer sound, if we have a really good sound that we want to multi-layer that sound in 3 multi-layer, we have to lose at least, beside of that sound that we want to have, those 2 layers, we will lose 2 instruments, other instruments that we want to have inside of Ketron. So that is disadvantage. But advantage is that those, I mean, it should be in any keyboard, those samples and multi-samples, they sound very well on Ketron. They are coming out really good, in good way. Sound is really good. It's not colored, it's not dark. For example, you know, when you have Korg keyboard PA4 or PA3, I don't know PA5, I didn't still have opportunity to put my hand on PA5, but if you have PA1, 2, 3, 4, and if you have sample inside of sampling mode, it sounds nice. But as soon you put that sample inside of sound mode, if you connect it with sound, it is losing some kind of freshness of the sound. It starts to sound colored and a little bit muddy, not anymore so healthy like it was in sample mode. Because PCG file, it puts some kind of setting or cover over the sound, let us say some kind of invisible cover of the sound that we can hear. That is not happening here in Ketron. But if you put samples inside of Genos, I have one video where I'm showing you how sounds sampled from Korg, how it sounds from Genos, and how it sounds from Ketron. From Ketron is coming out in the best way, healthy, nice, similar sound to original. But if from Genos, it is tiny sound. It is not anymore that kind of sound that you have as original sound. It is losing some body around the sound, and it is losing some mid frequencies, and it sounds synthetic. If we are using Korg, in Korg is losing freshness of the sound, and we are getting something like colored sound, a little bit of mad sound, muddiness of the sound. So, what I can say, advantage of Ketron is the best sound that is coming out from instrument. But limitations with number of the multisamples, with number of the sounds, that is something that is not so great. That is something that we have to accept if you want to play Ketron because of sound quality. So, that video is a little bit about some information related to my thoughts about sampling in Ketron, using how to use samples, how to organize them, and how to use benefit of whatever Ketron is offering right now to us. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you in my next video.